All right, we can go ahead and get the slides down and get that fired up. We're going to have a missionary presentation here in just a minute. But so good to see everyone in Adult Sunday School Hour. And I'm glad to see some that are back in town. Others are out of town. It's that time of the year. Good to see some of the teenagers back from the Youth Congress that they were in Tennessee. And I'm glad that they're in here for Sunday school, because not only will they get to hear the missionary, but it's good for them to see or to hear from this particular missionary brother, because this missionary brother, Brother Justin Dye, and his wife are the product of their church's teen class and youth ministry. And so it would be a blessing to see God call some of our young people to serve the Lord on the mission field. And so anyways, I'm looking forward to hearing from Brother Justin Dye. Now, he's a missionary serving in Papua New Guinea, and he's a veteran now. He already has several years under his belt and a church he's working with. I'll let him tell you all about that. But he's friends with our missionary, Brother Kenneth Cermak Jr. They're just a couple hours apart from each other, and they do things together from time to time. And so, small world. But and many of you will remember his pastor. His pastor is Pastor Chris Barron, who preached our missions conference last year, and he was a blessing. And so it's a blessing to have Brother Justin with us. And if you'll come ahead at this time, we're going to give him the rest of this hour. And then he'll also be speaking for us Wednesday night, so don't miss out on that. Make sure you show up, invite someone to come. Wednesday night, we're going to cut him loose, let him preach. Anything that he runs out of time to say this morning, he'll have another chance Wednesday night to say it again. So he'll be filling in for me on Wednesday night. This is Brother Justin Dye, missionary to Papua New Guinea. All right, brother, all yours.
Thank you, Pastor Manny. Appreciate it. Like Pastor Manny said, my pastor is Brother Chris Barron. Now, I got to warn you, I'll be up front. I'm not quite as crazy. Yeah, there's the word. Crazy as Brother Barron is. I do enjoy a good time. I do like joking around. But, man, it's a blessing to have a high-energy pastor. Can I say that? It's nice. I don't know if you guys share that opinion. I share that opinion with our church. He's a good guy, and he was a missionary for several years, so he understands kind of what we go through, and he's visited our country too. That's a blessing. So we're sent out of Faith Bible Baptist Church. We're with Word for the World Baptist Ministries, and we've been working in Papua New Guinea for 6 years. My wife, Kaylee's over there. Go ahead and wave, Kaylee. And then my kids they're all over in the Sunday school right now, all locked up and tied down. So hopefully they don't escape while we're over here. So it's a blessing to be there. And so this video is just kind of a recap of our last 3.5 years. It'll give you an idea of what our area looks like. If I heard there's another brother named Caleb Wilson, and I like what he said when he came to our church and presented his ministry. Papua New Guinea is just so different. Town to town, village to village. There's definitely some common things that stay the same. There's definitely some corollaries. But man, you go into other places and things just change. And so you've sent out several New Guinea missionaries. Brother Kenny's on the field now, and we're not too far from him. So we do have a lot of overlap. But man, I'll kill an hour talking with Brother Kenny, comparing notes about how Hagen is different from Pangaea, where we're at. So if you see anything and you go, now Brother Cermak didn't say that, just know that we're in a different spot, and it looks a little bit different. But go ahead, watch this, and then I'll kind of give a little update. And then if you think of anything, if you think of any questions, I don't mind answering questions, so think of some hard ones. And if I've learned anything, New Guinea doesn't have any dumb questions. It's just such a weird and crazy place, so please don't be afraid to ask. And then the more time you take up with that, the less time you have to hear me preach at you, so it's kind of up to you, all right? Go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Papua New Guinea is a country in the South Pacific Ocean. It's a collection of islands that lies just north of Australia. The largest part of the country covers half of the island of New Guinea, and the country as a whole is about the size of California. Papua New Guinea has had outside influence since the 16th century, but most of the contact that has shaped the country into what it is today happened from Australia around World War II. In 1975, they gained their own independence, and many tribes united under the name Papua New Guinea. We are the Dai family. We have worked in Pangaea in the Southern Highlands since 2019. Our area has been blessed by missionaries that have gone before us. The first Baptist missionaries arrived in 1984, and many churches they started are still standing today. We owe a great debt to those men and women who broke bush to get the gospel into the furthest edges of our valley. The churches that they started, the pastors they trained, and the lives they affected all influence what we are able to do today. The mission station that we live on is a foothold left by those men, and many of the pastors that we minister with are fruit from those ministries from 40 years ago. Today, we work to build on those foundations. We work as part of the Pangaea ministry team. We work alongside second-generation missionary Chad Wells and his family. They've ministered in Pangaea since 2008. We have several single ladies on our team as well. Melanie Ellis and Libby Russell work in our Christian school, and Brianna Dye, a registered nurse, works in our clinic. Thank you to those who have partnered with us over these past 6 years. We have planted and continue to work with a church in the village of Kumiani. This church has been attempted twice in years past, and in our first year, God opened the door to get this ministry off the ground. We have seen many saved through this gathering of believers. Our youth outreaches have seen several kids who attend churches that teach works-based salvation or who attend Catholic churches come to faith in Jesus Christ alone. We have seen several complete families get saved over time and then grow together in the Word of God. This church is on the road to becoming indigenous and have started to engage spiritually. They give to missions. They are learning to care for one another, and they are overcoming many traditional habits and cultural hurdles as they learn to bear the name of Christ in word and deed. We have worked in the Pangaea Baptist Missionary School. We preach chapel with our other team members. Justin conducts a music class, and Kaylee has led many of the girls' devotions. This is an ACE school that has been our team's biggest soul winner through the past decade of operation. As we work amongst independent Baptist churches, we have taken on a role in assisting them while respecting their independent indigenous status. We have been able to host 2 youth camps a year. We host one during the school break where lost kids from across the valley attend. We've seen many get saved at each of these events. We also host a camp for believers, intending to strengthen and encourage our youth to serve and love the Lord. God has used each of these to encourage young men and women into soul winning and God's direction for their lives. We have 2 teachers, a married couple that serve in our Christian school as a result of decisions they made to God in those services. Justin serves alongside Chad Wells, his sons, and some of our local pastors in our Bible Institute. We just completed 3 years of courses, and we had 14 students graduate. We have worked to translate and develop courses over the last few years, and we have seen huge growth in our students. They have become key members in their local churches. In June of 2023, we were able to host a team for a medical mission outreach. In 7 days, they ministered to 815 people, and 63 of those accepted Christ as their Savior. This team showed how effective care and compassion can be in softening hearts towards the gospel. We also started the PMT Clinic in 2021. In 2019, our daughter Madeline was born with a condition that requires blood tests, monitoring, and daily medicine. We had to learn how to do these things in order to continue serving in PNG. Armed with these medical basics and some understanding of the body, we were led to extend care to our people, many who live hours from immediate care. This ministry began on our home's veranda. We diagnosed some sicknesses, gave antibiotics and pain medications, and witnessed to them. The clinic grew, and we would see patients from all over the valley travel in for care. We cleaned and sutured wounds, and even would travel out to remote villages to administer first aid and sew people up. We have seen a few babies delivered and mothers cared for. This ministry, while overwhelming at times, has led to people getting saved and attending church. We have seen almost 2,000 patients over the past few years. Our home church sent us money to build the clinic building on our station, and we completed it late in 2024. Over the past 3.5 years, we have seen about 500 people saved through the various ministries and outreaches, and several of those we have baptized as they have attended our church in Kumiani. With our eyes on the horizon, we are building even higher on the foundations of what God has done so far. Late in 2023, we visited an area in the very southern edge of our province. We found river villages that are untouched by the gospel. On 60 miles of the Kikori River, there are 25 villages that are only accessible by that river and a boat. Our team, over the next few years, will be traveling down in a boat with our Bible school students to preach and sleep in those villages a few hours away. This will be a large investment of time away from home, but the door is wide open and the opportunity is ripe. We have also seen our school double in size in the past year, and we are looking to continue that growth. Justin has been certified as a supervisor with ACE, and we are training many new teachers in our school. We are attempting to get pre-K and kindergarten level satellite schools started with pastors and churches that wish to grow a school under their own church. We see much expansion on the horizon in the reach and scope of our Christian school. We are looking to host more missions trips this term. We have had preachers, families, and young men and women come. Some came for specific outreaches, and some came to spend a month or two with us. Would you consider visiting Papua New Guinea with us and expose yourself to the work on the mission field? We wish to grow our clinic ministry. The first step to this is Brianna Dye. She graduated nursing school and has spent 5 months with us on her survey trip. She is raising support to come back and live in Pengia to staff our clinic. We also wish to host medical professionals in our clinic on short-term missions trips. This would allow some more specialized care to reach our area and allow us to present more people with the gospel. Please pray that we can grow this ministry and that it would continue to provide opportunities for us to witness to our people in Pengia. We work in Papua New Guinea because the saints have supported our family. We are able to do what we do because of prayers and sacrificial giving. What is God asking you to do? Would you partner with us? Would you lend what God has given you to reach those who need to hear? Would you see the fields already ripe and ready to harvest? Would you care to reach them with us?
So like you see, our ministry looks a little bit different than Brother Cermak's, but man, God's still in it and God's still working. And, you know, there's opportunities all over the place. That's all that clinic is. Man, I've tried to put that thing down multiple times, and the days that I wanted to quit on that thing, that's the days that some people from the States would text me and say, hey, we're putting together a box of, syringes and sutures and stuff that I can't get in New Guinea, and we're mailing it to you. And I'm going, okay, all right, we can't put that down. And there's people who've gotten saved from it, and we're looking to grow it. We're raising money for a microscope and for a blood analyzer and some different stuff to kind of help us do that. I've got basically a text chat with about 6 different doctors and nurses and medical professionals that have said, anytime you need help, anytime you're out of your depth, text us. And man, they respond, and we're able to take vitals for them and basically relay that information. And with that clinic, believe it or not, has saved a few lives. Where there's a little baby who's about 3 months old who is had a real bad case of pneumonia. She's hyperventilating. She can't breathe. And we were able to calculate the right dose, inject her with some antibiotics, and get her down to a hospital where they could put her on oxygen for a few days while she recovered. And man, that family lives about 2 doors down from where our church is at. And that's given us an inroad. And I've been in places, I'm sure you've heard maybe some of the stories from Brother Wayne and maybe Brother Eric and Brother Cermak of just like house cry and some of our traditions that we've got. Man, those things are sacred in the eyes of our people. Where you don't want to interrupt that. You don't want to get in the way of that. And we were taking the body of one of our pastors back to his village after we had our version of the funeral service, and we had to go let the family bury him. And we're walking into a village I've never been into before. And we don't have a church there. There's not a pastor there, nothing. And about 6 months before that funeral service, that house cry, I had treated a guy his foot was, it basically needed to be amputated. You could see the bone in the wound. It was not a good situation, huge infection. And I got advice from some of our doctors, put him on medicine. We ended up bandaging it, and I had him sleep at our mission station. And man, praise the Lord, God ended up healing his foot so that he didn't need an amputation. He went from, we can't amputate because the infection's so bad, and if we cut into you, it might spread to the rest of you, and you might go septic and die, to no amputation needed. And that's God. And as we're walking in there, right, following this body up, everybody's wailing, everybody's crying, and this guy whose foot we saved, he's like in his 60s or 70s or something, right? So he's steeped in this. He knows what's up. He knows the rules. It's not like it's some kid or some teenager that isn't behaving. He stops and looks at me, and he's like, "You're the guy that helped me. I still have my foot." And man, for him to stop that, and for him to have a conversation with me kind of while some ceremonial stuff is going on, that was a huge deal. And again, I'd never been to his village. I'd never been back there. I'd driven by it, but I'd never been there, stopped there and walked up and gone inside. So, man, that ministry, that gives us some influence and some inroads, being compassionate to them. And listen, I get it. At the end of the day, if I save a guy's foot but he doesn't get saved, he's not really that much better for it. And man, we're trying to give out gospel tracts. If you get medicine from us, there's a gospel tract inside. We got a container full of chick tracts. We're distributing those. I've got Bible school students and pastors that sometimes when they stay on station, they'll come and they'll either preach or they'll sit and witness to people as we go. Man, it works. It's a good thing. But man. So I'm praying for my sister, Brianna, that she'll be able to raise her support. She's about halfway done, and she's getting her visa lined up to come over and work with us. That'll take a lot of that load off of us. We'll be able to grow that beyond what it is now and continue with that. I'll give you just 2 updates. The blessing of working with a team is that stuff happens when you're not there. So our school, I mentioned that we train teachers for satellite schools, and we're trying to give our inroad for other pastors to be able to start a school where they're at and pull in kids from the community, witness to them, and man, we are like that. We're all about it. We want to partner with anybody who's willing to do that. So we've got one started. It's off the ground. It's actually just about 10 minutes north of where Brother Kenny lives on that same road, and that school's doing great. They've started with a pre-K and kindergarten. I think they're up to 1st grade, and then this coming year, they'll continue and they'll get 2nd grade curriculum. And so what we do is we keep them with us for 3 years and train them and get them kind of certified. They've got to sit in our Bible Institute so that we can get a little bit of us into them too, and we get the right philosophy and mindset, ministry mode in them. But what's changed in the last few months is we are now responsible for ACE Papua New Guinea. And so we've agreed with the Australian company that runs that and distributes that. They're going to ship all those paces straight to New Guinea, and we're going to store them and distribute them. And we also take care of training any teacher and certifying them. We do the teacher training now. We do the National Student Convention now. And all that is done in an effort. Basically, our material cost for our school has been halved for the paces, and the trade-off is we've got to take that responsibility. But it gives us a chance to influence other churches and other teachers and try and get that ministry mindset into them. Even if they really wouldn't know who we are, we're trying to help that. So that is a huge responsibility that's been added, but a huge open door for us. And then the other thing, you saw the videos about the river. That's the Mubi River. And the Mubi River, basically those waterfalls empty into the Kikori River. Kikori River is basically Papua New Guinea's Mississippi. It goes right down to the southern coast. A whole bunch of rivers pour into it. It's huge. And we have Brother Wells and his boys, they've gotten the boat built. So that's the thing that's happened since we were gone in the last 6 months. They've gotten it built, and they were supposed to launch it a few weeks ago, but New Guinea logistics and stuff can get a little crazy. There's a couple landslides blocking some of those roads, and they're currently in a 2-week tract distribution and preaching meeting. Our Brother Kenny's doing that too, the Campaigns for Christ stuff. So I believe after this next couple of weeks, once all that's done, they'll be taking that boat. We welded together a trailer, built that boat, put it on it, and we got to 4-wheel drive it down to where those rivers are, and then launch it. So be in prayer for us, be in prayer for the team, and then once we go back, we'll be participating with that too, taking some of our Bible school students down, preaching in some of those villages, and trying to get some churches established with some of the men that we've got. You saw we had 14 graduates, more than half of those are men, and a bunch of those men have said, absolutely, I think God wants us to be preaching somewhere, be pastoring somewhere, or be a missionary somewhere, and so we're working with that. So, man, the future's bright in Pangaea. Like I said, this is kind of a special morning for me, just because you've been acquainted with missions and missionaries, and specifically New Guinea missionaries, for so long, and we're watching God take not take a new course, but we're watching God help us build on what was left there. We've got about 45 churches and pastors in our valley alone. That doesn't count the ones in and around Mount Hagen where Brother Cermak's at, and they're doing good, and what they don't need is a missionary to come in and continue to run their churches for them, but what we can help do is develop that material. All of our Bible school material is free and available and printed so that our pastors can take it if they choose to, and we run those youth camps, and we invite those churches to come be a part of that. We've got the finances, we've got the facilities to put on stuff like that, and come bring your youth group, plug them in, get a blessing, and let it help your church. So that's kind of where a lot of our ministries are focused right now, kind of a tier 2 deal. But man, God's still working through it, and we're excited. So does anybody have any questions about maybe our ministry? Yes, brother?
Are you in any kind of legal danger with the government for practicing medicine without state certifications?
Yes, we are. There's a good way to understand New Guinea is kind of there's the federal level. We'd be in trouble with them. And then there's the local level. And because we're tucked back in where we are, and because multiple times I've said, hey, I've written a referral letter essentially and said, we can't responsibly treat this, we can't monitor this the correct way, we can't, obviously we're not doing surgeries. You saw me kind of cutting on that lady's arm. She had progesterone rods for birth control in that were overdue for getting taken out. They were under the first layer of skin. Took about 15 minutes, numbed it up and got it out. Stuff like that where I'm confident we can get it sewed back up and we can be clean about it, we'll do. But now we've had kids with appendicitis. There's no way I'm going to open up a kid or anything like that. We've had old folks that with heart problems, right? We can't do that. So because of that, and because our community looks at us as genuinely a help, and they know that we're pouring our own money right out of our support check into buying medicine for them, it gives us favor with them. If I tried this in the city, or if I was charging a fee to see us, that's when things would get a lot stickier. But part of what getting my sister over there is doing is my step one when I get back is I'm registering our clinic as a nonprofit organization, and her visa is contingent upon the Nursing Board of Papua New Guinea granting her that certification to come practice. So this term, that will be above board. So the risk for that is essentially over because we're not practicing right now while we're over here. But but good question. Yes, ma'am.
A satellite with your schooling, like for your pre-K, for teachers, obviously that training, that's someone in person, correct? When you screen your teachers for people who are interested in coming over to partake in that part of our ministry?
Yeah, so what that looks like is, for instance, the case where it has worked. That pastor approached Brother Wells and our school staff and said, hey, I want to do this. And so he was instructed, send 2 teachers that we can get to a supervisor level. I don't know if you guys are familiar with ACE, but we don't have teachers. We got monitors and supervisors, right? So we'll train you to be a supervisor, and we also try and train that pastor in the admin side. Here's what you need to do to stay current, because New Guinea actually recognizes ACE's diploma through that Australian company, the Australian ministry that runs it, through how we keep them current. And so they'll come to us, right? They're faithful church members. They have to come with their pastor's recommendation. Obviously, we're with them enough that we can tell, hey, you're not saved. We need to take care of that. We're not going to plug them back in if they don't have a salvation testimony and they're not faithful. And that has happened where some of those teachers that have come to be with us even can't handle, Pangaea Station is not Mount Hagen. We don't have that many people. We don't have that many services, but it still feels like a town because that's where all of our villages come. They'll have market there. So it feels like you're going to the big city. And some of these teachers, their testimony suffers when that happens. And so we've had teachers about a year and a half in where we've had to send them back to their pastors and say, you got to fix some things. You're welcome to try again. So there is a bit of a vetting process, but it's done hand in hand with their pastor. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Man, those are fantastic questions. Some of these nobody's ever asked me before, so way to engage. That's awesome. Yes, ma'am.
How did you find out about those villages by the river?
So that we were going to take a boys' camping trip to go look at these waterfalls. There's a series of 4 waterfalls. The one that is in the video is the first one. And then you got to hike down a cliff that Derek Wells almost died on and see the next one. And then you got to hike back up that cliff and go down some more. We didn't see all of it because we didn't understand how far apart they were. But we saw it online. There's some aerial photos that got taken. And so the day after Thanksgiving, we said, we're heading down there. We tried to contact the family that owns that because there are numbers on Facebook and WhatsApp, and they're in a kind of a no-service area. So we went down sight unseen, went to the shore across from where that village is, waited for them to come over. We said, anybody know who Jerry is? And one guy's like, I'm Jerry. I said, Jerry, you're the one we wanted to see. We want to go see those waterfalls. So we paid to go see it because it's they're the landowners. And those videos are taken basically about 10 minutes after we got in that dugout canoe. And we crossed the river to go get some fuel to put in the back of the motor so we can get down and then come back. And the whole time we're sitting there, we're looking up. We don't have cameras out. That wasn't a ministry trip. This was a holiday trip. And Brother Wells is looking up. I'm looking up behind him. And all I can think is these people standing up here on this bank who are looking down at us with stern faces. You can tell they're not used to seeing missionaries or expats of any kind. These guys look like the same people in the pictures for like Mrs. Mullen's book and the pictures that Brother Wayne Fair would have shown 15 years ago from our area. Now our area looks so different because of missionary influence. And so the rest of that whole trip, I don't know that God's working on Brother Chad. He doesn't really know that God's working on me, but we're both sitting there going, here's some people who don't have any influence, who don't have the gospel being preached to them. It's a different climate down there. The witchcraft is a lot more open. That is not, it's common up by us, but it's not open. And down there, it is open. Even the guy telling us the story, he's talking about how he could call his uncle, who's a snake, to come out and you could see him and be face to face with him. I was like, no, we don't need to do that. Don't do that. Don't have that happen. And they talk about it openly. My pastors, man, you got to drag it out of them because they're just ashamed of it and it's a hidden thing. And so just going down and seeing, right? Your eye affects your heart. The same reason why we play videos when we come, the same reason why we talk about it, the same reason why we say take a missions trip. For us, what was supposed to be a little holiday trip ended up being a moment where God's working with us and God's handing us a decade's worth of ministry and effort to try and establish something. And so 3 days after that, right, the car ride back up, I'm going, Chad, did you see that? These people look like what our people looked like 2 decades ago. they're still clothed, right? Or they're not wearing leaves and stuff, but their faces and the hardness there, and man, you can just read it all over, and I'm going, these are the people in Mrs. Mullen's book, our people from 2 decades ago. And so, man, God dealt with us, and Brother Wells actually went back there about 2.5 months ago, and those 5 villages on that first river, they had already met and decided if we came back, because they knew we were missionaries, they would let us in, and which is a blessing and open, awesome answer to prayer, and we're looking to go back. So that's it, man. It wasn't anything spiritual. I wish we were praying and fasting, and we had a Macedonian call. It wasn't that. We were being unspiritual, and God smacked us around a little bit for it. So, yes, ma'am. Anybody else, Brother Manny?
In the bush, you hear a lot about witchcraft, voodoo. How much of that kind of thing do you run into?
Okay, so like I said, it's kind of hidden by us, but once you learn a few of the basics, it starts to get a little bit easier to see. So, for instance, there was a little stone, probably about this big, I could hold it in my hand, that had almost perfect half sphere carved into it. And nobody told me what that was until Brother Wells came by the one day, and he's like, well, you're going to want to take care of that and not let it be on your church property. We're digging stones out of the river. We're getting them ready for our project. You saw us mixing cement. They go in our wall. They're kind of decorative and stuff, the round river stones. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, because that's an altar. And you basically put pig fat and blood and whatever else in there, along with the carved wooden totems, and it sits in there. I said, Brother Wells, do you ever have to remove the pig fat and the blood? He said, no, you don't. It goes away after about a day. And I'm going, okay. And so I talked to my guys about it, my men, and they're like, well, it has no power, and that's. I said, listen, guys, go break it. In the Old Testament, you wanted to clean up stuff, you had to go break it. Go break it so nobody else can use it, or it doesn't come back out of the river and come over. So it's there. They all know about it, and some of them have those little carvings. There's a little male carving, a little female carving, kind of our specific Wiru tribe deities that I've never seen because it's hidden. But it's in houses if you know what to look for. And so a lot of times the way witchcraft is going to pop up is they'll take medicine, they'll take witch doctor medicine when, even our Christians, when prayers failed, right, when medicines failed, when they're kind of at their wit's end, they'll turn back to that. And this could have been a church member that's been saved for 10 years or 15 years and faithfully attending, but because it's so ingrained in them and in their culture, and to date, because it's so hidden, a lot of pastors and missionaries don't end up dealing with it or preaching against it like we should, and so they'll turn to that as a last resort, and it always results in deaths and more sickness. It's not a good thing. So it's there. It's not quite as open and in your face. Those river villages, that's going to be a different story, but 100% it's there, and they all think about it. And I learned to start dropping references in my preaching to it, and they respond. New Guinea is a place where if you know the secret and you say the prerequisite information, you drop hints like they'll assume you know and they'll talk to you about it. If you don't know the right questions to ask, they'll keep you at an outside arm's distance. For instance, right, if you've ever read through Daniel talks about he's visited, I think it's by Michael, right? He's visited by Michael, and Michael says, I would have come. The first day we heard your prayers, man, we would have come, but we were withstood by some of the spirits of Babylon, right? And we couldn't make it to you. And that teaches us that the spiritual warfare thing, though we don't get a lot of glimpses into it, one of the things we know is that spirits are territorial. And physical places on earth correspond to our spiritual kingdoms in that realm, okay? And with that information, basically, I was walking with 3 of our really old guys who are not a part of our church on a Thursday afternoon, and just making conversation. I pointed at Mount Yalibu, which is, you saw that in a couple of our videos and in some of those shots. It's always looming over us. And I said, what's the name of the spirit up there? And they look at me like, why would you ask that? Because there's an answer. And I told them, well, as a missionary, my Bible says, so I give them the story from Daniel. And they go, oh, okay, well, here's the name of that spirit. I forgot it because it's in a different language. It's in their tribal talk place, and I don't like quoting that stuff all the time anyways. But they said, basically, there's a pack of giant dogs that runs around up there, and you don't really want to get caught with them. And then you start learning stuff like after the rain, there's the spirit that hangs out up on mountaintops. You don't let your kids go outside right after the rain. You got to wait till the rain's completely done. And man, just all this stuff that even my church members are admitting they do, little superstitious things. And you're going, oh, man, this is deeply ingrained. But the Bible kind of helps decode even Papua New Guinea and lets you figure some of that out and talk with them about it and deal with them. So that's been my experience thus far. I'll let you know next term how that goes. Yes, sir.
Have you ever witnessed 20 witches?
If I have, I don't know, because it's hidden and it's kind of secret. So I've got a couple of suspects in my mind in our village. What New Guineans will do is they won't hire the witch or the wizard or the witch doctor, the potion man as we call him, in their village. They'll hire him from way out, because he'll come and he'll do something kind of like a secret spy mission. He'll do it. It's usually paying them to kill somebody. Sometimes it's paying them to heal somebody, and they'll go back. Because if you find out who it is in your village, we are the richest black Christian nation is what our government says. And so it ends up in a witch trial, which happens with some regularity in and around where we're at. So it's kind of secret, but you can kind of get some clues as to who's doing what if you're in the village enough. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Yes, sir.
Like, do you think the witch doctor medicine you were talking about works?
I would say it has an effect, but not ever the intended one, right? It's kind of a monkey's paw situation where they're asking for something and it always costs a little bit more. So I know of a story back where Brother Dennis Wells was in Palapini, where a guy's, the dad was sick, and so the brothers bought, he's a Christian man, they bought him medicine. He did kind of get better, but his son died within 2 days after him taking that medicine. And they all acknowledge that was a mistake, and that's why that happened. It's not hidden information. So sometimes it can. It's not like they're rubbing essential oils on stuff. It's not like they're taking herbs. It's not that. It has actually been prayed over, if you want to use that word, and usually there's blood sacrifices that go into that. So it's not like natural remedies that we're calling witchcraft. It is 100% bound up in a ceremony and something like that. So, good question. Yeah, go ahead.
Who do they pray to, though?
We've got spirits everywhere. We got a spirit on our river that we call Masalai that we scare children with. They got names from all of these spirits that some, like I said, some look like a giant owl / man person that lives up on the mountains, the pack of dogs on top of Mount Yalibu. Every mountain's going to have them. Valleys are going to have them. Rivers are going to have them. Sometimes they believe the spirits control, right, like a crocodile that eats children. They're going to say that's a possessed crocodile. They might be right, they might be wrong, but the deception and the fear is there. So what they're praying to is our spirits of our area. Yes, ma'am.
But if that's true, then how does it all work?
So it's true in that the spiritual realm has power, right? Satan has power, but it's not true in that what they're saying isn't true. They're trying to deceive and destroy. And so it doesn't matter what they say the reason was. It doesn't matter if that root of that tree actually heals you or not. A spiritual effect can happen, just like God heals us with spiritual power that transcends, right? Physical, it goes beyond what we can eat and taste and touch. He heals us. Spirits have that power too, but it's always, always, always used to destroy or deceive. I saw a hand over here. Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever had like a witch or a witch doctor or any of that walk inside your church while you were giving the gospel?
I don't think so. The people I suspect of maybe being that have never showed up for that. So I don't think so. They would have heard it when we were preaching in the tent meeting in the village back in 2019, but I don't think they've come down and sat in our services. Yes, sir.
Has that type of cultural darkness, is it in the federal government, and has that affected your ability to do missions?
Well, this is speculation because I haven't talked to all of them, but I do suspect that some of that is up there. I don't know. I don't believe that actual witch doctors are holding those offices, if I can make that distinction. But if you follow in our tribes and in our villages, and I believe this is true for Brother Kenny too, but don't let me put words in his mouth. Ask him all these questions too, because he's got his own experiences with some of this. Usually the village leaders were the best warriors, and you become the best warrior by engaging in those practices and going into battle with those blessings. So I'm led to believe that the most powerful leaders of each area that get elected to parliament also are tied to that. I don't know that, I wouldn't say that they're like the priests, right? They're not the people pushing that, but I would say they benefited from it to get there, if that makes sense. But I will say we also have born-again believers in our parliament. So I wouldn't say the whole thing's corrupt or anything like that. It's kind of case by case.
How big of a problem still is tribal conflict, warfare, and how does that affect ministry at times?
Okay, so if you drive into our valley, I think, Brother Cermak, you were at Yalibu. If you left Yalibu and drive for about 5 to 10-ish minutes, you're going to go through about 4 or 5 villages that are one tribe, and then you're going to come to Tindua, and Tindua has the tribe that Brother Fair worked in for many years in Kuari. They come up to kind of a point, and you drive through that little point on the map. And that village, leading down to the next village, there's kind of nobody living there as you come down the mountain. The reason why is because that is a battlefield and it's contested land. So these stories are there, and these fights are not forgotten, to the point where some people in Brother Wells' church, which is, if Pengi is here, you drive through that section and his church is over here, 2 tribes away, about 20 minutes drive. And he's got church members that really can't and shouldn't come to the tent meetings and stuff that we put on in Pangaea. Because if he comes in, there's a decent chance that some of our old guys are going to recognize him, because in fighting, he's killed some of our people, and it could be problems. So I say that to say it's all there, and it does kind of bubble up and boil over every once in a while to where we'll have the road get blocked and we can't get out for a few days, but it's not a continuous thing in our area currently. It could change, but currently it's not. About 2 hours north of us into the province, the Wabag province, 100%, they're still fighting. It makes Facebook, if you're in the right Facebook groups, absolutely brutal things are happening. And that's kind of how New Guinea is. It'll flare up in different sides where a decades-old argument will result in war again. And it kind of just depends on your climate and where you're at. And so far, my time in New Guinea hasn't been too affected by that, except for a couple bush knife marks on my car. But really, we're in a fairly peaceful spot. That could change over the next 5 to 10 years, but it wouldn't change what the ministry is asking us to do. So, all right, one more question, because we're about at time. Yes, ma'am.
You said that y'all get in a boat and you go across the river to villages. How friendly are those villages, or are they dangerous to be in that area?
It's kind of case by case. So those villages ended up being friendly, but when we were there, like I said, we weren't there to witness to them or preach to them. We were handing them money to go see their land, which they're most all the time they're going to be okay with that. But the fact that they met in kind of 5 villages, the different chiefs of those villages met after we left going, these guys are missionaries, they're coming back, what are we going to do about it? Will we let them in or will we keep them out? The fact that that conversation happened kind of shows you that they're aware of it and they're willing to talk about that, and we ended up having a good response. It very well could have been, that's why Brother Wells scheduled that trip to go down and see him. Without a boat, he was just going to go see him again, because it could have very well been we discussed it and we don't want you here. And we would just move down the river. So you go in carefully. You don't go in and preach the first time you're there unless God really opened the door for that. Usually you go in and just announce your intentions because you're a guest on their land. So it is very case by case. And for us, again, God opened that door. There's villages in and around 10, 15 minutes from my house. We can't really start anything there because the door's not open. So, amen. If you got any more questions, we'll be around today, obviously, at dinner for a little bit, and then we'll be here all week. So if you buy me coffee, I'll talk as much as you want me to, or just save it all till Wednesday night, too. So we'll just close in prayer, and then Brother Manny, you can come up. Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you so much for the fact that you would use all of us, Lord, the brethren in this room, and Lord, us in New Guinea, in your work. And Lord, I pray that you'd help us to be good stewards of that. And Lord, I pray that you'd help us to fervently with a good heart towards you, and Lord, with a mindset towards spiritual things. Lord, I pray that we would pursue, Lord, lost souls, and that we would disciple people and grow them into people who would be faithful in your work. And Lord, I thank you for the name that this church has. Lord, I thank you for the ministry that you've given us. And Lord, I pray that you'd help us as we move forward in your grace and in your strength. I pray these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. If I can get someone to help me get set up the American flag for the next hour, and the rest of you, God bless. Take a break.